Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another night of Alpha Star Radio. Hope everyone is having a great Friday night. New moon in Leo tonight. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? I highly recommend you getting out this weekend with friends and family and spending some time with them. It's blessed by the stars to do that. Anytime the new moon is in Leo, it is all about the children, so your children may seem a little more active than usual. That's just the moon playing its tricks on the children. It's a beautiful phase and I'm really happy the moon is new because it's been really rough the last few weeks for a great many of us. Enough about the moon, though. Tonight I have a great show in store for everybody. We're going to talk conspiracy theories and mainly the JFK assassination and its correlation with his son's death, JFK Jr. I always talk about an evil cabal, and I did mention this last week on my show when I was discussing politics about Clintons and Bushes and Trumps and whoever. I mentioned this last week about an evil cabal, and after doing the research for this show, and I've been researching this for a great many months now, if not years, I'm convinced of a lot of things. After tonight, you will know exactly what I mean when I speak of the evil cabal. Now, tonight, I am joined by a conspiracy researcher, a writer, author, and publisher. He's specializing in the secret space program, exotic aircraft, high technology, foreign policy, prehistory, and mysterious civilizations. He is the author of The Secret Space Age, published by Adventure Unlimited Press, as well as being a regular contributor to Paranoia Magazine and Steamshovel Press. Now, he has also written for Mysteries.Magazine and served as executive producer and principal researcher for Ground Zero Radio with Clyde Lewis. This show is a nationally syndicated radio show featured on many premier radio networks. Now, this man, Olav Phillips, has also appeared in many popular radio shows as well as television presentations, including, some of you may know of these shows, The Outer Edge, The Higher Side Chats, The Conspiracy Channel, AM's Coast to Coast, America Unearthed, What on Earth, and Voyager, as well as being a longtime contributor to a very interesting case that was introduced by Ground Zero Radio's investigating team about the famous Tracy, California UFO crash that featured on UFO Hunters. I remember this. Olav has also contributed to many of the television presentations you have seen about Area 51, UFOs and conspiracies. He's also publishes Steamshovel Press, Mysteries.Magazine, and the legendary Paranoia Magazine. I'm hoping we have him on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight, Olav Phillips.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well. Good evening, Olav. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I just gave you a very big introduction, and that is an impressive list of accomplishments. You should be very proud.
Well, thank you, and I have to say it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you so much. I've been wanting to get you on here for a long time, and I've been fascinated with a lot of the articles you've been posting on Facebook that I've been reading, and I did give you a big intro, and I was just telling people you were involved in the investigation of the famous Tracy UFO crash, and I remember reading about all that. Is there anything you'd like to add before we jump right on into it?
Well, it was a hell of a story. I got a phone call. Gosh, it must have been about 12:30 in the morning from Clyde, and he was very, very excited and a little agitated. And he said, "There's a UFO. It's crashed in Tracy. You have to go figure it out."
Oh my gosh!
From there, we had a mysterious fax that gave us some interesting details about the crash. There were some interesting things that happened at the same time as the crash. Out by Tracy, there was a tire fire This guy, he had been illegally storing tires, about an acre, I think, of tires, and somehow they caught on fire at the same time, and the Lawrence Livermore brought in their hazmat fire crew to try to put it out, and it burned for like 3 years. So, there were trucks going in and out with tarps covering large objects, and we had a fax that talked about F-18s being scrambled out of Alameda at the time, before Alameda was shut down, but they went out over the Pacific and attempted to shoot it down. Stories of laser beams coming out of Lawrence Livermore. I mean, it's amazing.
I've heard a lot of things about Livermore. A lot of interesting activity going on over there. Isn't there some sort of a lab or military? Anytime there's laboratories or military, there's usually high UFO activity.
Yeah, we get a lot of UFO sightings here. Livermore ostensibly was a nuclear weapons design lab for a very long time, but they also do, some high energy physics and lasers and things like that. There is a classified test facility out toward Tracy, and you can see it right off I-5, and it has, like 100-foot tall chain link fence, and about a mile, about a mile back, they do some sort of testing there. They won't talk about what. So it's a very bizarre place. But we, back then we had a series of bizarre places here. We had the Black Cube at Moffett, Onozuka Air Force Base, which was an NRO facility where they control, most all the surveillance satellites. It's been shut down now. They moved it to L.A., to Los Angeles Air Force Base, I believe. But we had a number of strange facilities here. We had a rather large, on the hill out by Santa Clara, we had a large radar facility. We had an NSA listening post up by Mare Island. Whole place is dotted with Nike missiles from the 60s.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, but they shut all that stuff down now. They actually destroyed the listening post. They bulldozed it, and they turned it into a wetland.
Did they really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a positive
California
thing, right?
has a lot of interesting nooks and crannies to it. I've heard a lot of interesting things, from things going on in Mount Shasta to, hey, I live down here in the Monterey Peninsula, and I've even seen some interesting things in the sky through the years, and it's like, wow, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had my camera because...
Well, the interesting thing to do is sometimes it's rare, but sometimes if you listen late at night to Oakland Air Traffic Control, you can hear, because Oakland Air Traffic Control, I think it's Oakland, maybe it's Oakland, pretty sure it's Oakland, but they control the airspace for a huge chunk of area from Monterey south, a little south, all the way up to the Oregon border, and so you'll occasionally hear these strange communications between air traffic control and some sort of aircraft where they're trying to fly out, and they're asking the airspace to be cleared. And one that Clyde played actually on Ground Zero, you can find it. This guy called into air traffic control to Oakland, and he said, "Hey, I'm an unlisted military flight. I need you to clear the airspace so I can go, I'm going out over the Pacific." And the guy comes back and says, "Okay, well, what altitude, right?" Because that's important. I mean, when you have airplanes flying, they kind of fly in freeways of the sky. So there's this range between, say, 28,000 and 38,000 feet where most of the planes are, right? And so the guy comes back, he says, "Just clear it all." And the guy says, No, I need a chunk of airspace. How high are you? So I want to make sure I'm not flying things over you. He said, "Well, I'm at 70,000. And the guy says, "Wait a minute, what did you say?" He says, "Well, I'm at 70,000 feet. He says, "I'm running commercial airliners. They top out at 42, so don't worry about it. Just go for it."
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Well, yeah, I know a lot of people have said they've seen things in the sky. We are definitely not alone. I'm definitely going to have you on my show again, especially when I move to 2 hours, because we could talk all night about UFOs. I love talking UFOs. So I know you're a busy man. You have a very, very busy schedule coming up in the next few months, but I did want to talk tonight a little bit about JFK. I love UFOs, though, and my chat room is enjoying it as well. So I'm going to have you on again, and it'll be dedicated all to UFOs. But tonight,
I've got some interesting perspectives on UFOs.
I bet you do. Being the executive investigator and producer for Ground Zero Radio with Clyde Lewis, I could only imagine. I mean, I've listened to that show, and I will tell you there have been times when Clyde has said things on the air that I've just sat there going, he's scaring the crap out of me. But it's good, you know.
Yeah.
He really touches on some really scary stuff sometimes, but it makes you think. You have to think. But there was an article I read on your site, I'd say it was back in June, maybe July. It was called The JFK Redux, the role of Richard Nixon and George Bush in the assassination of President Kennedy. Now, I know you didn't write this. This was written by Paul Candice, I believe his name is.
Right.
And there's this... Okay, and there's like this newly discovered FBI document that reveals some very interesting information, and I'm going to let you tell us what that is.
Well, you know, when you talk about, well, actually, there's a far more interesting one than that. That is a very old article. The more interesting one, if I could derail the topic for just a moment, since you like UFOs.
No problem.
Well, there's a JFK memorandum. There are actually two memorandum that JFK sent out that are very, very interesting. I actually wrote an article about this in Paranoia called Mysteries Over the Skies of Camelot. And what these are is that that a few days before Kennedy was assassinated, he actually sent a memorandum out to NASA and the Air Force, requesting that they work with the Soviets on a joint lunar base. And around the same time, there's a second memo that was sent out by JFK to NASA and the CIA, where JFK was concerned that now that we're dealing with the Soviets, right, that they would misidentify our top secret aircraft as UFOs and shoot them down. So he actually sent a message to them, and he wanted to understand that of these high, quote-unquote, high-threat targets, high-threat unknowns, which ones were us and which ones were really unknown. And this is the critical part. He directed the head of NASA, the director of NASA, to talk to the director of CIA, and he opened the door. He said, declassify it. You know, classify it in such a way that they can see it. And they're supposed to talk about the defensive capabilities of NASA as related to UFOs. And then he gets assassinated.
Oh, damn.
So
oh, my God.
There's a whole series of redos that are fascinating to read. But since you really like UFOs, I thought you might want to discuss that one.
that is something I'm going to have to research now. My.
I'll send you the Paranoia. It's yeah, and you know, JFK the JFK assassination, you know, it's a myth and legend at this point. I mean, if you want to talk about who's going to kill him, you know, the list is 10 miles long, ranging from, you know, LBJ himself, who had a need to be the president, the mafia, you know, industrialists. I mean,
now let me ask you a question. This is my own question out of curiosity. Is Marilyn Monroe's death and do those two deaths correlate in some way?
You know, I think it's JFK obviously isn't my primary research thing. I do the secret space program and that kind of stuff. But from what I've seen, it appears that she was killed to silence her. And there are many rumors about why she was killed. You know, some that she was pregnant or that she was going to reveal, you know, various bits of information about Kennedy. And so some group within the hierarchy, because, you know, when you think about the government, right, one of the things you have to remember is that there's a government you see and a government you don't see.